in the extreme from the authorities, with these, putting into practice, what someone has told them to do. I think the people higher up the chain are sort of telling them to do this, but also the people who are doing this, there's no excuse for them that they're just following orders for going around and arresting an innocent woman in the middle of the night for taking some pictures.
I was at the hospital the other day and I noticed everywhere was quiet there, so I started filming. And then when I realised she'd been arrested, I had to take it off. Because I put it on Twitter, I thought I'd take it off because I didn't make any commentary or anything, but I thought I'm not risking it because it's just not fair.
Wilsey, this is the psychology that they do, don't they? They arrest someone and then we all self-censor, even though this is very important information to get out. And, I don't know about every single hospital, but, because they do tend to get busy this time of year, because it's winter, more people have flu. And surprisingly, flu is the lowest ever cases of flu in history. Well, maybe not in history, but for a very, very long time. And it's all been replaced by COVID, so people are twisting and manipulating the numbers. There are some hospitals that are full, but you get that normally in winter, but there are some hospitals that are much emptier than usual if you look at the figures. So, there's nothing, I think that, if you look at it in the round, there's nothing extreme going on here. We're not in the middle of a deadly pandemic like the Black Death, which is what they seem to be trying to ramp up and make everybody afraid of.
And these Nightingale hospitals, is it true they've all been dismantled, or are they dormant? What's happening with those?
As far as I know, some of them have been dismantled. As far as I know, the one in London doesn't seem that there's any equipment in there, and you hear different things from different people about it, but they're certainly not being used.
It was about £6 million spent on the Nightingale hospital.
It's more than that, I think. I think it was a lot more than that. As far as I know, it might be 600 million, as far as something like that. I think it's a couple of orders of magnitude bigger than that. Yeah, it's huge waste of money. But that's nothing compared to the whole amount of money that they've wasted on this. They've spent 300 to 400 billion on the whole COVID thing, whether it's the Nightingale hospitals, the testing, the track and trace, and all of the other things, and all the sort of furlough schemes. They're saying to people, you can't work, but we're going to pay 80% of your wages. And I think most people just want to get on and work because they want their businesses to carry on and survive. And so they're basically paying people not to work, which is. There's no reason for this, and this has been shown to be so, but they're just continuing with this destructive policy in many areas. So they're wasting. I don't know. I heard some estimate of about £1 billion a day on this. Which is going to bankrupt the country if it goes on for another year.
And there were just rumours that it's going to go into Tier 5.
I've heard this, and when something gets leaked or something gets announced, it usually happens a week or 2 or 3 later. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do something else. I don't know what that would be. If it's just that they've already announced that in some areas schools aren't going to go back, so that might be the extra restriction that they're doing. They might do more. I don't know. Okay.
What's your thoughts on Piers Corbyn running for mayor?
Yeah, I heard that last night. The thing is, on a lot of things I would agree with him on. We would certainly agree that these restrictions are wrong. I think in the London elections, you get 2 choices. You get a first vote and a second vote in the London elections. So, someone could vote for me, number 1, Piers Corbyn for number 2, and then they could vote for both of us if they wanted to. So the system in London means that it's not really a problem.
So do you think that all Metropolitan Police officers should be issued a copy of 1984? Or are you concerned that they use it as an instruction manual?
I certainly think they should have it and they should learn from it. There's so much we should learn from history. These books are written to warn us by people who are visionaries about what could happen in the future if we don't stand up to tyranny. But we've got this coming in now, and it's amazing that you've got a lot of police officers who are just seeming to be enforcing this tyranny, sort of. There's a, I don't know, it's heckler or something. Anyway, yeah, and so it's very, very worrying. Very, very worrying what's going on, and they need to respect our human rights and fundamental freedoms.
Can I ask, will you be down there in 2 days? It's on the 4th of January at the Old Bailey for Julian Assange
I was just going to say that.
at 9 a.m. I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Julian Assange should not be in jail. I mean, he's a whistleblower. He's done nothing wrong. All he's done is speak the truth. He hasn't even told a lie about anything, and he's in prison. Because some people don't like the truth coming out, but what he's done is very valuable service to humanity. He's a political prisoner. He shouldn't be there, and he's been treated appallingly by the powers that be, keeping him locked up on trumped-up charges and false pretenses. So I'll certainly be there on Monday with many other people who are lovers of freedom and truth to call for him to be released.
And what do you think about mass surveillance in general?
Well, it's terrible. It shouldn't be mass surveillance. Why do we need mass surveillance? I mean, just because the technology to do something exists doesn't mean that you should use it. We got the technology to do all kinds of things which are good and which are also destructive. But people should be free to live lives that are anonymous and to have a private life. And yes, in a public space, in a town centre, you do need things perhaps to check if there's crime going on. You don't want people committing robbery and theft and pickpocketing and things like that. But I mean, generally surveilling people to see what they say, who they talk to, who their friends are, what they write on the internet, what they're writing in text messages to people. I mean, that shouldn't be done at all. And what really worries me is something that happened a couple of months ago in Parliament. There was a new bill introduced. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's given...
Covert Human Intelligence Sources bill.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's giving state operatives the... basically immunity from prosecution. They're allowed to break the law with impunity, and there'll be no comeback for them. So that's very worrying and very it's tyrannical, basically. People who are working for the state should respect and obey the law. I mean, you shouldn't be allowed to go and do things that are illegal that might harm people, and then not have any kind of comeback for it just because you were working for the state, for example.
So obviously your party is the Heritage Party. Where can people go to find out more information about it?
Yeah, so you can look on heritageparty.org, and our manifesto's there. You can see, and you can you can look at our manifesto there, and you can join up and you can sign up there. So heritageparty.org.
And there's going to be activism soon, I think, and they can email in to say that they're activists.
Yeah, so you can sign up as a volunteer as well. Obviously, we'd love people to sign up as members. So if you do, then you can join a branch and you can stand as a candidate. But you can also, sign up as a volunteer. We will have some action days soon where we can give out some leaflets and so on. And, especially in London, someone is standing to be the mayor so that we can get rid of Sadiq Khan, and we would like to do that. So if you want to help and get involved in fighting for the mayoralty to be returned to sanity, please join up.
Right, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions? This gentleman over here, he got grabbed down one of the last protests. Literally, he was walking away. He got grabbed, and then I got grabbed for filming him getting grabbed.
By the people you didn't want to be grabbed by.
TSG.
Oh dear.
What do you think about the TSG? Would you disband them as are they under the Metropolitan Police?
They are, as far as I know, they're under the Metropolitan Police. So, I mean, if there are real riots, you do need something to actually be able to control and disperse riots. I mean, you do have real things that are going on that are a danger to normal people. But I mean, you shouldn't be using the riot police to disperse a peaceful crowd. This is not a riot, and I've seen them out in all the freedom rallies where people are just, they are advocating, marching, rallying, protesting for the return of our civil liberties. It's not a riot. So you don't need the riot police to go in and behave with utter brutality against ordinary citizens. That's absolutely wrong. But you do need you do need some police that can deal with extreme violence if that happens, and you do need police obviously to deal with terrorism and so on. But you don't need police, and they certainly should not be treating innocent civilians and peaceful citizens civilians as if they're criminals.
So, do you think there should be extra checks, or maybe some sort of need to sort of confirm that what the mayor's action in sending in the TSG? Do you think there should be some sort of oversight by the Assembly? So that the mayor doesn't just have carte blanche over the TSG,
Yeah, right.
Private army.
Well, I've asked the mayor in the Assembly about these kind of things a couple of times, and he's usually just said, well, I don't really know the answer, you should ask Cressida Dick, or I'll find out to you, or why don't you write to me and I'll write back to you, or something. He doesn't seem to have any clue about, you know, what's been going on the streets of London in terms of these rallies and demonstrations. But yeah, there needs to be some very strong scrutiny of the TSG and you know, the Metropolitan Police, if they're going to be using force in a manner which is you know, which can be necessary at some times, obviously to arrest real criminals, but when that you know, permission to use force is misused and abused, then it needs to be stopped, and well, it shouldn't happen in the first place. So we really need a whole look into this and to make sure that they stop doing this kind of thing that's been happening today and on many of the other freedom rallies over the last 6 months, and that kind of use of extreme force is just reserved for arresting real criminals like murderers and terrorists and rapists and grooming gangs and paedophiles.
He seems to be a mayor that doesn't know what's going on in his own city, I think, the way you know, when we watch these question times and that.
Yeah.
But is he aware of like the knife crime that's going on in the city as well? You know, like we're going to the 2021 and in one night there was 3 stabbings. So is he aware of that? You know, either?
Well, he does seem to come out with some platitudes when something goes on. You know, this is a terrible thing, but it goes on, and nothing seems to change. You know, and this is, I think, because the police have been focused first of all on policing, you know, political correctness. You know, they're looking at people's tweets on the internet to see, oh, if you say something that's politically incorrect, we're going to drag you through the courts. We're going to, you know, policing speech. And now they're policing peaceful protesters who are demonstrating for civil liberties. So the whole focus of what the police has been doing has been wrong. You know, you've got the whole diversity, equality and inclusion agenda, where I would say, you know, it's very simple. As I said before, the police are there to catch criminals, to arrest criminals. Murderers, thieves, you know, rapists, arsonists, burglars. You've got to catch those people, but don't be, you know, politicizing it and, you know, using the police to be nice to Black Lives Matter, you know, send out nice liaison officers to make sure that they're all having a nice time, but then you've got, you know, freedom rally people being treated with a truncheon over the head. The whole focus has been wrong.
Why do you think that is? Oh, sorry. Go on.
Why do you think that is, that they're pushing so much police out to these protests?
Well, I mean, you've got all the old parties, you know, whether it's Conservative, what I call the fake Conservatives, Labour, Lib Dem, Greens, they're all, you know, of one accord on this. I mean, I look at them and I just think, you know, they're basically one big party with like 4 different colours. We got the pretense that there's 4 different parties there, but they're all pretty much the same, and they're all like completely on the globalist agenda, you know, so they... Yeah, Agenda 31, Agenda 2030, Agenda 21. You've got the smart cities agenda. You've also got the strong cities network. So London's in both smart cities network, C40 cities, and the strong cities network. And the strong cities network is a network of cities globally, which sort of pushes the globalist agenda around democracy. So it works around, you know, flanks the democratic system and can impose something without people realising. So that you've got, it's ostensibly to fight terrorism, but they're looking at these kind of things and saying, well, this is basically far right. You know, all the far right is here, so there's a danger that this is terrorist, and we've got to clamp down on it and stop it. Whereas, you know, you've got the Black Lives Matter, and they're like, well, this is wonderful because this is about equality and diversity. So that we'll let that go because that's good. But this, oh, that's possibly far right. terrorist, we need to clamp down on it. And that's sort of coming through the Strong Cities network, and there's a lot more you can read about it, and you know, the agenda's there. You know, you've got the whole state of Victoria in Australia. The whole state is in the Strong Cities network. I think it's the only place that's bigger than a city. You've also got Birmingham and Manchester, Luton and Leicester in this country that are in the Strong Cities network, and you see sometimes the police in those cities acting in a similar way. I must say though, when I went to Birmingham on the 5th of December, they were very nice, and they just let the rally go. We were there. It was a lovely, peaceful rally. They did, yeah.
Doing the demonstrations in the car side.
David Kurten for
What's your thoughts on the voting machines?
Yeah, well, there shouldn't be voting machines in this country or anywhere. They should be counted by hand. You know, I did ask the question of Sadiq Khan in December, written question, and he hasn't answered it yet. So, you know, I said, what are you going to do? What's the GLA going to do to remove these e-counting machines, given the allegations of election fraud in the USA?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, so I've asked the question now. You know, I tweeted about it yesterday, and I think a lot of people, that's raised awareness. A lot of people are asking the question now, because you've got the contract in London, I think it's given to Smartmatic and another company. So that is very worrying, considering what's happened in the USA. So it's something that we're looking into, and you know, we'll see.
Is that like to carry on, or
Well, again, that
should be quashed because so many people double vote?
Yeah, well, my view is that postal voting should be only for people who have a serious disability, or veterans, or you know, people who are doing military service, who are abroad and you know, overseas, and they can't vote, you know, where they're registered to vote. It shouldn't be for everybody. So you know, we need to go back to how it was before, whereas only a few people could have a postal vote for a very, very good reason, and that's it. So the system we've got now, you know, is ripe for fraud. And you know, even the Electoral Commission says there's 16 areas of the UK, mostly in England, where they have serious concerns of voting fraud taking place, including Tower Hamlets, Peterborough, some places up north as well, like Blackburn and Oldham.
Can I ask?